The air within the courtroom was thick, nearly oppressive. A faint hum of hushed rumor hung in every corner, much like static electricity on the eve of a storm. Meri Brown remained still at the plaintiff's table, her fingers riding the rim of that same locked envelope. To all who observed her, she seemed tranquil, but within, her heart thudded like thunder. Across the room, Kody Brown looked away from her, jaw set tight. His attorney leaned in and whispered something, but Kody did not appear to hear it. Beside him, Robyn Brown clutched his arm as if she were trying to pin him to reality. Her eyes flashed toward Meri, fear and defiance dancing in equal proportion. The judge entered. "All rise," the bailiff ordered. Creak of wooden chairs sounded like a warning bell. As they stood, the silence grew, the kind that conceals secrets waiting to burst. When the judge finally spoke, his words cut through the tension. "We find ourselves here today to hear the civil petition brought by Mrs. Meri Brown against Mr. Kody Brown and Mrs. Robyn Brown. The issue at hand is the allegations of fraud, misrepresentation, and new evidence that has been brought forth regarding parent identity." Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. The words parental identity were enough to make several journalists bolt upright, cameras snapping. Meri's lawyer, a composed woman in her 40s named Alyssa Harper, stood tall. "Your Honor, the evidence my client holds in her possession may alter not only the course of this case, but the public understanding of the Brown family as it has been portrayed for over a decade." Robyn shifted uncomfortably. Kody folded his arms, a smirk spreading across his lips, the kind that said, "I'm untouchable." Alyssa breathed in. "Before we continue, I'd like to call for a brief recess to prepare the evidence for submission." The judge nodded. 10 minutes. The moment the gavel fell, the courtroom erupted in low voices. Meri didn't budge. Alyssa leaned over and whispered, "You're sure you're ready for this?" Meri's eyes sparkled. "I've been waiting since the night I received the news." The vision disappeared momentarily, to be overpowered by a poignant flashback. Meri isolated at her kitchen table 3 months before, a lone letter in front of her. The letter had arrived from a private detective. She'd been about to discard it until she noticed the name typed on it, Robyn Brown DNA Inquiry. Her fingers had shaken at the time as they did today. She'd broken it open, her own breath stuck as she saw what was written. Probability of biological relation, 0%. In the courtroom again, the recess was over. The judge returned, and the room's tension grew more knotted. Alyssa rose once more, this time in possession of the envelope. "Your Honor, we move to submit Exhibit A, a confirmed DNA report from a state-certified laboratory in Flagstaff, Arizona." The judge took it. His brow furrowed as he flipped through the first pages. "And this pertains to?" Meri's voice broke the stillness. "It pertains to the truth, Your Honor. The truth about who's been lying to all of us." The gallery exploded. Newsmen murmured wildly. One of them got up to call their editor. Kody pounded his fist on the table. "This is absurd. She's attempting to destroy my family because she's resentful." The judge held up a hand. "Mr. Brown, calm down." Meri didn't blink. She stared Kody down for the first time that day. "You destroyed your own family the day you began to live a lie." Robyn went white. She leaned in, her voice shaking. "Meri, don't do this." "You don't understand." "Oh, I see," Meri broke in, her voice tough but worn with feeling. "I know what it's like to base your life on trust and then discover the folks you loved most made a play out of it." Kody spun around to his attorney. "Object. Irrelevant, emotional manipulation." The judge groaned. "Overruled. Go on, Mrs. Brown." Meri pointed at the envelope now held by the judge. "That report confirms that one of Robyn's kids isn't Kody's. They've been hiding that fact for years, meanwhile making me believe I was the issue, that I was the reason this family disintegrated." Gasps rang out throughout the room. Kody's jaw fell open, not because he hadn't known, but because he'd never dreamed Meri would do it in public. Robyn shielded her face, mouthing something under her breath, perhaps a prayer, perhaps a curse. The truth doesn't destroy families, lies do, Alyssa continued, voice steady. We'll present corroborating evidence and witness testimony confirming that the Browns were aware of this discrepancy years ago, yet continued to misrepresent the situation for financial and personal gain. The judge leaned back. That's a serious accusation, Ms. Harper. You're alleging not just deception but ongoing fraud. Yes, Your Honor, Alyssa said. My client was misled into signing financial documents based on family representations that were knowingly false. Kody slammed his pen down. We're a family, not a corporation. Then maybe, Alyssa replied calmly, you shouldn't have treated your wives like employees. Laughter broke out among the spectators, quickly silenced by the judge's glare. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Tension became almost unbearable. Then the judge banged down the papers. We will resume tomorrow to go over the evidence in entirety. Court for today is adjourned. The gavel rang out. Meri stood frozen as others started to move out. Cameras snapped. Someone yelled her name. But her gaze remained on Kody and Robyn, the two individuals who once were her universe. Kody walked past her, shoulders stiff, avoiding her eyes. Robyn lingered for just a moment. Why now? She whispered, voice barely audible. Meri's lips trembled. 'Cause silence protects liars, Robyn. And I'm done being quiet. Robyn turned away, tears streaming down her face. Meri breathed slowly. The light from the courthouse struck her just so, as if the world had tilted slightly. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like the deserted wife. She felt like someone taking back her history. When she was leaving, her attorney caught up to her. That took courage, Meri. Tomorrow won't be easy. Meri nodded. It's not been easy for years. Tomorrow it's just the truth catching up. She emerged into the night, met by a sea of blinding cameras and bellowed questions. But her heart was elsewhere, on the horizon just beyond the courthouse steps where freedom at last did not seem so distant. Morning sunlight fell across the steps of the courthouse, bright and yellow. The reporters had already arrived before dawn, their breath misting in the cold air. The news had broken overnight. Meri Brown drops DNA bombshell in court. Within, the courtroom hummed like a hive. The bailiff's call for order rang out, but the murmurs would not cease. Cameras snapped, pens scraped across notebooks. Everyone wanted to know what would come of Robyn Brown on the stand. Meri sat next to her attorney, her eyes on the witness stand. Composed, but her hands were sweating. Alyssa leaned forward. This is where it gets ugly. Don't flinch, no matter what she says. On the other side of the aisle, Kody's team had bunched together. Robyn fidgeted with her navy blazer, her wedding ring shining as she smoothed out her shaking hands. Kody put a reassuring arm around her shoulders, though his eyes were frigid, calculating. The judge entered. Court is back in session. Ms. Brown, please take the stand. Robyn stood, her heels clicking like slow metronome beats. When she sat, her voice shook under oath. I do. Alyssa stepped closer. Mrs. Brown, yesterday we heard reference to a DNA report about one of your children. Prior to discussing the document, can you explain to the court how your relationship with Mrs. Meri Brown evolved over the years? Robyn swallowed hard. It evolved because she stopped trusting us. She believed rumors. We attempted to bring her in, but she distanced herself. Meri sat with her head down, jaw clenched. Alyssa paced slowly. You're telling me she created the space. And yet in this report, she raised a folder, there's proof of deception. Can you tell me why your name was listed as the subject for DNA testing last year? The room was in stasis. Cameras zoomed in. Robyn blinked wildly. I don't recall asking for any test. Alyssa's tone remained calm but bristly. So, you're telling me that somebody forged your signature? Kody leaned forward in his seat. Objection. The attorney is harassing the witness. Overruled, the judge answered. Reply to the question, Mrs. Brown. Robyn's throat jerked. Perhaps I did ask. But it was not about Kody. It was simply medical curiosity. Meri's whisper cut through the quiet. Curiosity doesn't destroy families, lies do. Robyn's gaze flew in her direction. You don't understand what we've gone through. Alyssa did not flinch. Then inform us, Mrs. Brown. Inform the court why the outcome of that test was never revealed. Robyn's eyes welled with tears. Because it didn't matter. A lab error, that's all. Except, Alyssa replied, advancing on Robyn, the lab verified the results twice. Are you saying 2 separate analyses were in error? Robyn's voice broke. You're twisting this. We were attempting to spare our child embarrassment. The gallery murmured. Even the judge looked shaken. Meri spoke softly, more to herself than the court. You protected yourselves, not the child. Alyssa placed the folder on the evidence table. Your Honor, permission to read a portion of the laboratory summary? Granted. She read aloud. The probability of paternity between subject A, Kody Brown, and subject C, minor child name withheld, is 0%. Gasps broke out. Kody's face turned red. He pounded his hand on the table. This is trash. Some swindle to devastate us. The judge's gavel snapped. Order! Mr. Brown, one more outburst and I'll hold you in contempt. Robyn wept openly now, her shoulders shaking. It wasn't supposed to come out like this, she whispered. Meri's voice, though steady, carried years of ache. Then how was it supposed to come out, Robyn? In another TV episode? Kody leaned forward, speaking directly to the judge. This family's been torn apart by jealousy. That woman, he pointed at Meri, has hated Robyn from the moment she joined us. She's making up stories because she can't stand our happiness. Alyssa turned, unflinching. And yet, Your Honor, it wasn't Mrs. Meri Brown who commissioned the DNA test. It was Robyn Brown herself. We have the laboratory's digital login record verifying her email and payment information. The gallery fell silent once more. The judge nodded slowly. That's admissible. Proceed. Robyn covered her face. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just wanted to know. Meri finally glanced at her, eyes gentle but weary. You knew already, Robyn. You just could not admit it. Kody hid his face in his hands. For a brief time, no one said anything. The only noise was the quiet buzz of the camera equipment recording every shattered look. Alyssa picked up her notes. Your Honor, we move for a recess so the Browns have an opportunity to peruse the original signed consent forms. Proved, the judge replied. Court will reconvene in 20 minutes. The moment the gavel came down, the courtroom descended into pandemonium. Porters scurried out, phoning their producers. Gallery fans whispered, Did she really say 0%? Kody stood, whirling about to face Meri. You're enjoying this, aren't you? You get to embarrass me in front of all these people finally. Meri stood, standing her ground under his glare. You managed that all on your own. He took another step forward, low and venomous voice. You think this makes you right? You think anyone gives a damn who's real anymore? They only give a damn about headlines. Meri's answer was soft but slicing. Headlines wear off, Kody. Truth doesn't. He stopped, the words slicing deeper than she had meant. Robyn remained still, stare fixed on the ground. Alyssa walked cautiously over to her. Mrs. Brown, tomorrow we will require complete disclosure of all your contacts with the testing center. I recommend honesty. It is the only thing that can still save your family. Robyn weakly nodded. I understand. Outside the courtroom, the crowd stood in wait behind barricades. When Meri stepped out, microphones were pushed into her face. Mrs. Brown, is it true that one of Kody's children isn't biologically his? Will you pursue custody? Do you feel vindicated? Meri hesitated on the stairs. Flashbulbs exploded like fireworks. I didn't come here to ruin a family, she said softly. I came here to stop pretending we still had one. Cameras recorded every word. Back in the courtroom, Kody sat by himself at the defense table long after the courtroom had emptied. The judge's bench towered over him, vacant now but still dominant. For the first time, the man who'd always dictated all the storylines appeared small, trapped by the truth he could not manipulate. He reached for the discarded folder, his image shaking in the shiny cover. The final sentence in the report glared back at him. Genetic inconsistency confirmed. He whispered, "It can't be." But in his heart, he knew it could. And it was. Side rain started to fall, gently at first, then harder. Meri stood beneath the gray sky, seeing the courthouse roof blur in the downpour. For a momentary second, she almost felt sorry for Kody and Robyn. Almost. Her attorney joined her beneath the awning. You did well today. Meri nodded, whisper of a voice above the rain. It's not about winning. It's about breathing again. Alyssa looked at the storm clouds. Tomorrow's session will involve cross-examination. Are you prepared for that? Meri stared at the courthouse doors. I've waited years for tomorrow. Lightning flashed in the distance, lighting up her resolute face. The courthouse had the faint scent of rain and coffee that morning. Porters had spent the night camped out outside, umbrellas a patchwork of color against the gray sky. By 9 a.m., the courtroom was packed, all seats filled, all cameras trained on the one empty witness chair at the front. Meri sat in stunned silence next to Alyssa, staring at the highly polished wood of the bench. She had slept little. The news channels were already referring to it as the sister wives' trial of truth. But to her, this was not TV. It was years of secrecy finally being handed a microphone. The bailiff brought the court to order. The judge's tone held serene authority. We'll pick up where we left off. Mrs. Brown, cross-examination is in order for the defense. Kody stood slowly. For once, there was nothing of swagger in his step, no confident smile. His attorney placed a pile of notes in his hand. He walked to the witness stand, gazing at Meri. You've always despised me, haven't you? A shudder of surprise ran through the room. Alyssa protested at once. Your honor, irrelevant. Overruled, the judge replied softly. But be concise, Mr. Brown. Kody sat forward, his voice soft. You waited years to pursue me. You call this justice? This is revenge. Meri's voice was firm. If you consider truth revenge, then yes, I suppose it is. Kody clamped his jaw. You think this test shows something? That lab might be in error. The lab double-checked the results, she said. The judge cut in. Let's go on to the evidence. Technician walked in with a small sealed envelope. Within were the original consent forms and the computer log confirming Robyn's request. Technician read the process aloud in an even tone, but each sentence was like a nail in a coffin. Alyssa inquired, Is it any chance these results were tampered with? None, the technician answered. Chain of custody is well documented. Courtroom whispered. Then the judge interrupted again. We will now hear from the expert witness for paternity confirmation. A lanky man with silver frames on his glasses approached the stand. Dr. Levine, director of GenLab Arizona. Alyssa nodded. Dr. Levine, may you verify the authenticity of Exhibit A? He pushed his glasses up his nose. Yes. These results show a 0% chance that Mr. Kody Brown is the biological father of the child in question. The words trailed in the air like thunder that precedes rain. Robyn clasped her hand over her mouth, quietly weeping. Kody went white. There has to be another explanation, he said thickly. There must be. The doctor hesitated, then added, We did find a partial match within the broader sample database. A familial connection. The judge leaned forward. Meaning, Dr. Levine sighed. Meaning the child's biological father may be related to Mr. Brown, but not identical. The audience gasped. Mary's heart skipped. Related? Kody's lawyer jumped up. Objection. Speculation. Overruled, the judge said again. Continue, doctor. Dr. Levine turned a page. The genetic markers imply a close male relative. Maybe a first cousin or brother. Kody halted. His face went white. And you'd known it first, Meri observed as realization swept over him. Kody had been proud of control for years, over his wife's children image. Now in one sentence all of it was broken. Alyssa remained her usual even keel. Dr. Levine, are you indicating that the information is pointing to Mr. Brown's brother? It's statistically likely, yes. The judge turned to the defense. Mr. Brown, would your brother be present for questioning? Kody's attorney was quick in responding. He's out of state, Your Honor. Meri broke the silence. He was at my house that summer, wasn't he, Kody? Assisting with the move? Kody didn't answer. His silence said more than words could. The room erupted in whispers. The bailiff called for order again. Robyn's shoulders shook. Please stop, she cried. I didn't mean for this to happen. Mary's eyes softened for a second. Then why hide it? The judge sighed heavily. We'll recess for an hour. During that time, counsel will meet privately to discuss how to proceed with this new information. The gavel banged. Courtroom exploded once more. In the hallway outside, Kody and Robyn sat on a bench alone. Neither of them said anything. Meri stood at the other end of the bench, gazing out a rain-frosted window. Alyssa walked up to her. This changes everything. Once the public finds out it's a relative. Meri nodded slowly. He'll do his best to cover it up. But it's already out. Back in the courtroom, cameras trained on Kody as reporters whispered. His hand shook. The cloak of confidence was lifted. When court reconvened, Alyssa rose. Your Honor, my client would like to call Mrs. Robyn Brown back to the stand. Robyn returned up the aisle, holding tissues. You said the truth would set me free, she whispered, but it doesn't feel that way. Alyssa questioned gently, so what does it feel like? Like drowning, Robyn whispered. Every decision I made, every falsehood I spoke, I believed it would hold the family together. Instead, it destroyed it. Kody turned away. Alyssa rested a soft hand on the podium. Who was the father, Robyn? Courtroom gasped. Robyn's tears blurred her vision. It was one night, years ago, when everything was falling apart. He promised not to tell Kody. He said it didn't matter, that family is family, Meri whispered. It matters. The judge's gavel hit once. Mrs. Brown, please answer directly. Who? Robyn swallowed hard. It was his brother. Collective gasp filled the room. Kody shot up from his seat, fury and disbelief twisting his face. You're lying. Robyn shook her head. I wish I were. Robyn's response was in a whisper. Because I was scared. I thought if anyone knew, I'd lose everything. Yesterday, Kody spun to the judge. You can't just let her say that. The judge responded evenly. Mr. Brown, the witness is under oath. Meri sat immobilized, conflicted emotions, vindication, grief, and the pain of years lost believing in something that never existed. The judge cleared his throat. We will take the day. Tomorrow, we will finish the testimony and take next steps into consideration. Again, the gavel fell, final and ringing. News reporters jammed the steps outside. Flashbulbs bathed the wet sidewalk in white. Kody buelled through the crowd without comment. Robyn remained behind, hugging her coat around her shoulders, looking at nothing. Meri stood a few feet back, hearing the cacophony surrounding her recede into the background. Alyssa spoke softly. You okay? Meri took a slow breath. I figured hearing the truth would be like peace. But it just feels hollow. Truth usually does, Alyssa replied. Peace comes later. They descended the courthouse steps in tandem. The wind was biting, but rain had ceased. In the distance, a thunderclap rumbled over the valley, low and long. It seemed like an omen, a warning that the tempest within the courtroom was not by any means over. The following morning, the courthouse was colder. The hum of reporters was more intense, but the mood of the crowd had changed. Shock had taken over curiosity. The news had spread overnight. Sister wives' trial. Kody's brother implicated in secret paternity twist. Inside, Meri sat alone in anticipation of the hearing's start. Wooden benches groaned surrounding her as she held a little notebook. Her own diary, pages yellowed and soft at the fringes. She'd written something yesterday night that she hadn't read out loud. The truth isn't freedom, it's a mirror. And it doesn't lie. Alyssa came up softly. Ready for today? Meri nodded. I don't think anyone's ready for what's going to happen. As the judge stepped in, the room was quiet. Kody was already sitting, his attorney whispering frantically next to him. Robyn didn't even glance his direction. Court is now in session, the judge said. Mr. Kody Brown, you can approach the stand. He rose carefully, smoothing his tie, his face pale but stubborn. 4 years, Kody had constructed his existence on image, control, charisma, faith. Today, that facade was breaking. Alyssa moved forward. Mr. Brown, you've heard the DNA report. You've heard your wife's testimony. What do you want this court to believe? Kody breathed deeply. That I've been betrayed by the people I trusted most. The audience grumbled. Alyssa drew closer. Betrayed or exposed? He glared at her. You think I'm the bad guy here? You think any of this was easy? I gave my all to these women, everything. Meri's hand shook on her lap, but she remained silent. Alyssa's voice grew cutting. You accused betrayal, but wasn't it true that you urged Robyn to go for the DNA test to quash gossip? Kody fidgeted. I did it to shield my family. Or yourself. Alyssa replied softly. Kody stalled and then erupted. You don't get it. The media was destroying us. I believed that if we could establish that it was my child, everyone would leave me alone about questioning my life, my faith, my family. And when the test confirmed otherwise? He pounded the railing. She lied to me. Robyn winced. Tears streamed down her face. I didn't lie. I kept the truth hidden because you scared me. The courtroom erupted again. The judge demanded order. Meri sat in silence, her eyes unfocused. Kody's voice trembled as he faced the judge. You don't know what it's like to see your family disintegrate piece by piece. The judge's face relaxed fractionally. Mr. Brown, it isn't about appearance. It's about fact. Go on. Kody stared down at his hands. I built that family on faith. I believed it was strong enough to withstand anything. But somewhere down the line, love turned to control and trust turned to performance. Meri breathed softly. You finally see it. When an abuser finally sees the truth, it's not redemption, it's reckoning. Alyssa walked slowly. Mr. Brown, were you aware that your brother spent considerable time with your family last summer? He paused. Yes. He assisted with repairs to Robyn's home. And did you ever observe any familiarity between them? Kody's tone was deadpan. No. And even if I did, I pushed it aside. Because I wanted to think my world was perfect. The judge leaned forward. That's a key statement. You pushed it aside. Kody slumped his shoulders. Because I would have to accept the fact that the foundation I had made wasn't an actual one. Meri broke the silence. You didn't build it, Kody. We all did. You just ensured your name went on the front door. The room remained silent. The judge nodded to Alyssa. Go on. Alyssa retreated. No further questions. Kody's attorney stood for redirect. Mr. Brown, are you indicating you didn't know anything about your brother's relationship with Mrs. Robyn Brown? None, he replied assertively. And if I did, I would have ended it all then. Robyn's soft snifflings interrupted the quiet. You already ended everything a long time before then. Kody spun violently around. Don't turn this around on me. The judge banged the gavel. Enough. This court will not turn into a shouting match. The judge sighed. We'll recess for 20 minutes. As the courtroom emptied, Meri stayed seated. The sound of footsteps faded, leaving her in the echo of her own heartbeat. She recalled the first time she'd ever met Kody, the excitement, the faith, the vision of creating something greater than herself. Now it was like recalling another person's life. Alyssa sat down next to her. You made the right decision, you know. Then why does it feel like loss? Meri whispered. Because justice always has a price, Alyssa said. When court resumed, Robyn was recalled to testify. She seemed gaunt, a ghost of her previous self. Alyssa spoke softly. Mrs. Brown, when did you first suspect your child may not be Kody's? Robyn paused. A few months after she was born. Something about her eyes, they didn't look like anyone else's. Kody's head fell into his hands. And why didn't you speak up earlier? Alyssa inquired. Robyn stared directly at Meri. Because he would have annihilated me. You see how he acts when he feels trapped. Meri nodded drowsily. Yes, I do. Robyn's tears began to turn into sobs. I thought that if I buried the truth, it would remain buried. But lies spread like weeds. They don't die, they just take over everything. The judge wiped his glasses. Mrs. Brown, are you ready to identify the biological father of the child for the record? Robyn nodded slowly. It was his brother. I never wanted it to be, but it was. And ever since, I've lived with that. Kody's attorney protested. Your Honor, this is humiliating and irrelevant. Overruled, the judge declared. It is at the heart of this case. Kody rose to his feet, his voice shaking. You call this justice? Wrecking all I've created? The judge looked him in the eye. What you constructed rested on dishonesty. The court is after truth, not heritage. Kody's breathing was labored. You can't steal my family from me. The judge replied calmly. No one's stealing them, Mr. Brown. They're walking away. A frozen moment elapsed where no one stirred. The only noise was the soft hum of air vents and Robyn's quiet sobbing. Meri looked at Kody, her voice firm but laced with decades of hurt. You showed us that love is obeying. That loyalty is silence. But today, silence stops. The judge paused, his throat clearing. Tomorrow, the court will proceed to closing arguments and recommendations for custody and financial obligations. For now, this session is over. The gavel came down, sounding like a pulse throughout the courtroom. Sighed, the sky darkened once more, full of storm clouds. Porters hounded the steps, yelling questions, but Meri tuned them out. She strode past Kody, who was stuck in place, his hands shaking, his world crashing down around him in slow motion. Reaching the courthouse door, Alyssa caught up to her. You did it, she breathed. Meri glanced over for one final time. No, she whispered. I just quit pretending. The last day of the trial was preceded by a dark sky. Thunder rumbled in the distance as if the earth itself were preparing for judgment. People were lined up outside the courthouse before dawn, cameras, microphones, and flashes charging the air. Everybody wanted to see the end of the sister wives' trial. Inside, the courtroom was oppressive. The murmur of whispers persisted until the judge appeared. This court is now in session. We will hear closing statements. Meri was motionless, hands clasped tightly, her expression serene but ashen. Robyn sat next to her, clutching tissues. Kody stood at the side of his attorney, eyes sunken, unshaven, beaten, but still full of defiance. Alyssa stood first, voice firm and strong. "Your Honor, what we have witnessed here is not merely a case of lies. It's a picture of control, manipulation, and silence. For years, these women were under a system constructed by one man's ego, until one truth demolished it all. We don't merely seek acknowledgement of guilt, but also accountability." She stood still, looking at Kody. No one deserves to be held hostage by love, and no one deserves to use faith to cover up power. The judge nodded. "Thank you, counselor. Defense may proceed." Kody's attorney stood, his tone steady, rehearsed. "My client is not a monster. He's a man who believed in something bigger than himself, a family united by religion. Yes, there were mistakes. Yes, there was hurt. But must one deception characterize a lifetime of commitment?" Kody raised his head. His voice broke. "I'm not perfect. I know that now. But all the things I did, all the rules, all the decisions, it was to protect my family. Maybe I pushed it too far, but I never stopped loving them." Courtroom remained silent. Then Alyssa spoke softly. "Control isn't love, Mr. Brown. It's fear disguised." The judge rocked back in his chair, considering. Rain started to fall softly against the high courtroom windows. No one spoke for a very long time. At last, the judge said, "This isn't just a legal battle. It's a mirror held up to a system of broken trust and authority. Court rules that the DNA evidence prevails. Custody and financial reparation will adhere to state code." He turned to Kody. "But beyond the law, Mr. Brown, what remains is the human cost. This family is fractured. And no verdict can fix that." Kody stared straight ahead, motionless. The gavel struck once. Court adjourned. Meri rose slowly. She didn't rush to leave. She just stood there, breathing as if trying to remember what peace felt like. Robyn quietly gathered her things, her shoulders trembling. Kody didn't move. He sat at the defense table long after everyone else stood. Porters outside were already shouting his name, but he didn't hear them. He just stared at his hands, the same hands that had once built homes, held children, and signed promises he never kept. Alyssa touched Meri's arm gently. "You can go now." Meri nodded. "I know." They moved into the hallway, where the sound of footsteps blended with camera clicks and the rumble of thunder outside. Robyn followed behind, holding her coat. Meri faced her. "You must tell your daughter the truth one day. Don't let her grow up in the dark like we did." Robyn nodded weakly. "I will." Outside, the rain had ceased. The air was cleaner, lighter, as if the world had been catching its breath and finally released it. When they arrived at the courthouse steps, a reporter yelled, "Meri! Do you forgive him?" Meri hesitated. For an eternity, she didn't respond. Then she spoke softly. "Forgiveness is not for him. It's for me." The crowd fell silent. Alyssa smiled weakly. "That'll be on every headline by morning." Meri giggled softly for the first time in weeks. "Perhaps it should be." They strolled side by side to the car, but as she turned to climb in, Meri glanced back over her shoulder one final time at the courthouse doors. Kody remained there now, just within the doorway, observing her. Their eyes locked. No words, only the thick silence of two individuals who at last beheld each other without illusion. He opened his mouth to speak, but she shook her head. "Don't," she mouthed. And then she turned and went away. In the building, Kody finally sat down on the courthouse steps. Robyn sat down a few steps below him. "Kody," she whispered, "what now?" He glared at the ground. "I don't know. I thought I was the middle of everything. Turns out I was just a chapter." Robyn stretched out his hand, but he didn't take hers. Hours later, the courthouse cleared and the TV lights died. Meri sat by her window at home. The storm outside had gone by completely. She could hear the distant hum of traffic, the world moving on. Her diary, lying open at the last entry, sat on her table. She took up a pen and wrote, "Today the truth was told. Tomorrow perhaps healing starts. But even if not, I know I lived through it. And that's enough." She gazed up at the still night sky. For the first time, it didn't feel oppressive, only expansive and open, full of promise. Her phone vibrated. A text from Christine said, "We watched the news. You did what we couldn't. Proud of you." Meri smiled gently, her eyes welling up with tears. She messaged back, "It's over. But perhaps it's also a beginning." The camera, if this were a show, would quietly zoom out, her form outlined against the window, the glint of streetlights on glass casting an erratic dance of shadows, and the distant rumble of thunder.